Women sometimes wanted to come up and try to hold hands. Lots of women slip things into our pocket when we're wearing greatcoats. Things like addresses and telephone numbers.
Right, y'all, welcome back to Come at Arms channel. Okay, so you guys can already tell I'm not in my usual setup, and that's because I'm actually in the UK right now. So I figured I had some downtime, I might as well do a little reaction video. So what better one to do in the UK than something about the Queen's Guard? So I'll probably end up going to Buckingham Palace and all those fancy places where you could actually find these guys. So I figured I'd learn a little bit more about them. I think I know a decent amount now. You know, there's like 5 different units that actually comprise the foot guards or whatever. So I know a decent amount, but this one is from Infographics. It's called What Do the Queen's Guards Actually Do? So I got some tea, managed to find some tea, got it in an awesome 007 mug right here. So we're going to check out this video. Hopefully the quality sounds and looks pretty good, but let's get into it.
Premium plans right now. Queen Elizabeth II is the longest-serving British monarch and is the current longest-serving monarch in the world. Since she took the throne in 1952, much has changed in the UK. You could say the British people are not, on the whole, as enamored with the royal family as they were when she took the throne. But despite polls in 2018 revealing that 2/3 of the British public were not interested in the royal wedding, it seems for the most part people are not interested in getting rid of their royals. We can only find one instance when someone planned to take out the Queen.
Oh snap, that's what he's talking about.
Years later, when declassified spy papers told us a New Zealand teenager had planned to do just that in 1981. So what do the Queen's Guard do with themselves all day?
What does New Zealand have against the Queen?
Infographics show. What does the Queen's Guard actually do? If you saw our show titled How Much Protection Does the Royal Family Get?, you'll know that the royal family has around-the-clock protection, and that comes in many forms.
Makes sense.
We're not just talking about the main royals that we all know, but the many other members of this family. The Queen might be supported by her guards, but you have other outfits such as Scotland Yard's Royalty and Specialist Protection Service,
Hell yeah,
also offering armed protection when she's at home.
I love the
and
animations
when she goes
too.
on the road. While it seems the royals don't have many enemies, who knows if someone is willing to spend years in prison for their 5 minutes of fame. That's why when you see her driving down the street, she'll be surrounded by an armed and very skilled special escort group. So with this in mind, does she really need a Queen's Guard? First of all,
yeah, so that's already something I didn't know. I mean, it makes sense for her to have all these other personnel as like protective services, especially with the Queen's Guard. If they are infantry, of course they're going to be trained for combat and stuff like that, but protective services is a little bit different as far as how they actually need to do their formations, how they need to provide security and everything. So there's definitely a lot of niches with personal security than with just being normal infantry. So that makes a lot of sense there, but I'm not too familiar with all these different outfits. So I know they said they did a video about it, so I might have to just check that out too.
You all likely know who we're talking about when we say the Queen's Guard, since you've all seen pictures of these men that wear those large furry hats and dress in red and
iconic.
Black. These people are not just for show, however, and they fill a role in protecting the Queen. The Guard is made up of infantry and cavalry soldiers, and they work in what's called the household.
Okay, cavalry
division.
too, I didn't know that.
That means you'll find them doing their duty at Buckingham Palace, St. James Palace, Windsor Castle, and some other places. One source tells us that the Queen spends most of her time at Buckingham Palace, although she goes to Windsor Castle on most weekends, visits Balmoral Castle in Scotland for long periods of time, and for Christmas often visits
I didn't even know that.
House in Norfolk. We're told that the Queen's Guard is
a lot of
mainly
fancy
split
places
into
then.
2 parts, and those 2 parts will be posted either at Buckingham Palace or St. James Palace. When the Queen is staying at Buckingham Palace, there are usually 3 officers working there as well as 40 other ranks. There will also be 4 sentries at the palace. They work night and day, sometimes staying in one spot, while others will walk around the grounds. The foot guards might be part of the Grenadier Guards, the Scots Guards, the Irish Guards, the Welsh Guards, or the Coldstream Guards. If you visit Buckingham Palace at the right time, you might actually see the changing of the Guard. Okay, so now we should ask if these guys...
Yeah, that changing of the Guard is definitely something I would like to check out myself. It probably gets pretty busy around those times, so I might just go during the off hours and see the guards then. But okay, so I guess when they're doing the changing of the Guard, it's them changing from unit to unit. I thought when they were doing the changing of the Guard, it was just changing like some Grenadier Guards out with more Grenadier Guards and not like changing Coldstream Guards out with Grenadiers. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but okay, I did not know that. But it seems like their housing situation is pretty similar to like the presidential security in the Marine Corps, because I think those guys all stay at like Camp David. It's probably a pretty similar arrangement.
Ever have any trouble. In the past, the guards did have a few run-ins with a disgruntled public, but for the most part in modern times, They haven't really been tested.
Snap.
Perhaps the biggest case and some blushes for the guards was when a man called Michael Fagan managed to get past them in 1982 and, believe it or not, get into the Queen's bedroom. This was a huge
With
thing
her?
back in the day. Some sources, maybe not that
Okay, was she
reliable,
actually
say
in the
that
room
Fagan only did it because
when he
had
did
been
that?
in the pub with his friends and he had bet them £5 that he could get into the Queen's bedroom. He managed to scale a wall, climb up a drain pipe,
No
and then it said
way.
by sheer luck he ended up on the balcony outside the right bedroom. There are, after all, many bedrooms.
That's
in
pretty
Buckingham
impressive.
Palace.
A lot of
Stories
effort.
differ as to what happened next, with some reports saying the Queen was startled and Fagan said to her, "Relax, sister. You don't
So
have
she
to
was
worry, I'm
actually
Irish."
in there.
We doubt the veracity of the source, though. Other reports say he just left the room and was subsequently apprehended by police, who probably should have been on the scene sooner. He was
Hey, well, at
not
least he got the
charged for
$5.
trespassing, but for stealing some royal wine. In the end, he was sent to a psychiatric hospital. After hearing this, you might be
Wow,
wondering
okay.
where the Queen's Guard were. But the Queen's Guards were already beaten as they remained outside the palace. The fault was theirs, but also the police officer that was supposed to be guarding the room. The sentry job sounds
Oof, I wonder if he got fired.
as they just stand there for long periods of time. We're told that they have the order: you may not eat, sleep, smoke, stand easy, sit, or lie down during your tour of duty. In a 2-hour period, every 10
Badass.
minutes, they will pace back and forth where they are stationed. This can be amusing for tourists, as the sentries
2
look so
hours is
serious.
kind of long.
Tourists in the past have gotten in the way of the sentry, and if that happened, he would shout, "Make way for the Queen's Guard." He might also
Yep.
shout, "Stand back from the Queen's Guard."
We've all
And if
seen
that
that.
isn't heeded, then he's forced to point his rifle at you. Unfortunately, some members of the public, mostly tourists, still get in these guards'
Yep.
way, and so their posts have largely been removed from where they could be interfered with. In an
Oh, okay.
interview, one
Yeah, I was always wondering that because, like, you'll see videos all the time where, like, I guess if they're moving from one post to another, it makes sense for some tourists or whatever to get in the way sometimes, especially if they jump over the rope. But you'll see it all the time where they're actually at a post and people walk, like, right up to them and start bothering them to see if they're going to laugh or smile or something. But, I mean, it must be pretty frustrating. I'm sure they have some pretty good discipline to be doing something like that. But to put them in that position is kind of rough, especially when the public is really, like, persistent with messing with them.
One guard said that being tormented by tourists was starting to take its toll, and he was glad their posts were now in a place where the public couldn't get too close. He told Stars and Stripes in the US, "It's about time. We've had enough of that lot. They'd stick pins in you, some of them." Another guard said that it was
Wait, for
fine
real?
that people wanted
What?
photos and even got up close, but he said some tourists would throw banana skins in their path, while others would stick oranges in their bayonets or pull their bearskin busby hats. That same guard said this, which doesn't sound
Oh my
all that
gosh,
bad.
that's so
Women
annoying.
sometimes wanted to come up and try to hold hands. Lots of women slip things into our pocket when we're wearing greatcoats.
Phone
Things
numbers,
like
maybe?
addresses and telephone numbers.
Yep,
The
there you go.
Australian media said in 2018, people must be aware that while guards may seem unshakable, if someone really does something to annoy them or become too much of a nuisance, they will react. Still, one guardsman said most of the time
Hell
their
yeah.
weapons are not loaded. You only carry live rounds if there's a high threat level that someone will attack.
Yeah, that's
he
what you
said,
guys were
but
telling
I've
me.
never carried any. According to him, they must look serious at all times. If they're caught laughing or even chatting with a tourist, he said they're liable to be fined around $355.
Yeah, it's funny,
We're
they
allowed
get
to give
fined.
them away by shouting warnings at them, the guard said. If they fail to move or start to act aggressively, we present our bayonets to remind them that we can do more harm than them. Another thing is,
Nice.
all that standing can be hard work, and some guards have been known to pass out. If they think they're going to faint,
Yeah, we've
it's
seen
said
those
that they have
videos
to
too.
do that in a disciplined way. It's called a feint to attention. You have to feint to attention, a Major Di Bevan of the Welsh Guards told the Times newspaper. It will probably involve a broken nose and a whole lot of missing
Yeah.
teeth. You
Yep.
can find photos online of what it looks like, but it seems that
Dude,
they
for real.
also
Yeah, so that's really true. So I never did silent drill or any of that crazy like drilling marine stuff where you're standing in formation for like hours and hours. But sometimes you do have to stand in formation for like a couple hours. And it can be pretty rough, especially if you're like super dehydrated or if it's super hot. Or, I mean, even like people who are just joining the Marine Corps, they're not used to standing still for that long. So I can't remember like how many times people passed out and like actually face planted. I remember when I did the School of Infantry, we were standing in formation for like maybe 45 minutes. And one dude, I mean, this is on day 0. Like we didn't even start training or anything. He just face planted the first row in the formation. Face planted, knocked out all of his teeth. His face was jacked up the entire time he was out the course. So you see it all the time. So I'm sure for these guys, it's much, much harder.
have some fun. An article in BuzzFeed, which took the information from former guards, tells us that they would give each other funny or sometimes insulting nicknames.
Oh, that's
they would
messed
act
up.
around too.
They do
With
the
one
thing on the
guard
back.
trying to say if they got the chance to sit on the throne, they would do it and take a selfie. If you get a chance to sit on the throne of England, you aren't going to pass it up, he said. Other documents say some
True.
guards would allow their friends to park in St. James Palace, while another document said some guards would
No
sneak
way.
the lady friends of Prince Andrew into the palace. So while they might look like inhumans to the tourist, they are certainly
That's
not
risky.
unlike any of the rest of us. In a Reddit Q&A, a guard talked about many aspects of his work, saying if you want to be one of them, you must pass a few tests and also have the smarts about you. He said that it helps to be tall. He said that while much of what they do is ceremonial, they are also security. He just added that if things do turn awry, police are usually there as a backup. Asked if he ever had spoken to the Queen, he replied, yeah. When I was at guard on Windsor Castle, she came up to me with her husband and the dogs and asked me some questions.
That's cool.
She's
The corgis.
really nice. He seemed to like his job, saying only occasionally people would try and annoy him. Although he did say on any given day about 200 tourists would try and make him laugh. He
Yeah,
also
no
said
doubt.
The job gets tiresome. So
That's gonna
you
be
have to
me,
amuse
probably.
yourself. When I'm really bored, I like to mess people's pictures up. When a load of Asian tourists came and set up a huge picture, I waited until the cameraman was counting down to take the pic, and then marched up and down my post until they all left. He also
Yes.
said that sometimes perhaps the most embarrassing
Nice.
times is when a guard needs to urinate but has nowhere to go. He said occasionally you'll see a puddle underneath the guard's feet. If anything were to happen
Hey,
to the
that
Queen,
discipline.
it's good to know that she's got her loyal guard to turn to for help. And if you've got a terrible website or just need help building a great looking
I
site,
saw where that was
then
going.
you've got
Okay, so that is it for that video. So, not gonna lie, it was a pretty good one. So, we didn't learn so much more about the guards than I already knew, but we learned a pretty decent amount. I like getting the personal insight from those guards as far as like doing the interviews and posting it in articles and stuff. It's kind of cool to see it from that perspective. I know a lot of y'all were telling me you were in the guards. You sort of gave me your experiences and, you know, like firsthand knowledge from how you guys have seen it. So I do appreciate that. If you guys saw anything that is incorrect in this video or you want to add off of it, you can do that as well down in the comment section. But yeah, hopefully the quality of this video wasn't too bad. But yeah, this was a pretty cool one. I learned a little bit more about like the Queen and all the different locations. So I'll have to keep that in mind while I'm walking around London doing my tourist thing. So I don't know, maybe I'll do like a little reaction video or like a little short whenever I can see one of the Queen's guards. I think that might be pretty cool. Maybe if it's one of you guys can, you know, do a little head nod or something, but I understand if you won't. And also, I don't think I have that many subscribers that it'll actually be one of you guys. But if it is, then, you know, I'll probably be wearing a hat like this. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. This was a really cool one. Again, hopefully the audio quality is pretty decent because this is a pretty small room here in my little Airbnb. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. That is it for this one. I'll see you all in the next one.